And we are back and we are live. What is going on, legend? But welcome back to Beyond the 90. Back from holiday, and what a time to be in for this match as well. We've got Forest coming up. We've got Glenn. Glenn, first of all, thanks for jumping on once again. How are you? How are you doing? And how are you feeling about this match?
I'm doing all right. Quite enjoyed the break, really, as I think probably a lot of Leicester fans did, and then watched some dreadful England performances as well, and got back to watching some Premier League action today, and then looking forward to tomorrow's game. Now, I think building up to it, I think there was a bit of dread, as there probably has been with a lot of the fans, and what if the worst happens type thing. But I think with any game, I usually build up then to kick off, and then I'm all full of hope. And of course, it's the hope that kills you and all that. But no, I'm always then when by kickoff, I'm like, come on, we can do this, and I'm right up for it and ready, and then just hoping that it's exactly the same on the pitch as well.
I'm hoping so as well. And then obviously coming into this game, obviously a massive game against Forest, and we've talked about Brendan till it's sick of the pack teeth, but now we know he's in charge. Now I don't want to touch on him too much because this matters a lot. As you know, you were at the game, the FA Cup in the previous game. However, looking at it now, we've just got to kind of get on with it, if you see what I mean, and just and hopefully get a win because I mean we desperately need a win at this point, and it has to come now, pretty much.
The thing is, a game against Forest is always huge, regardless of the situation of the two clubs. But this is like because of where we are, it's even bigger than it should be. Like, it feels like I don't want to say a cup final, but it feels like our season is on a knife edge. Where if we lose tomorrow, it feels like we are in an awful position. We're still in far from ideal position if we win tomorrow, but if we lose tomorrow, it really, really doesn't look good for us. I think, and that's regardless of the fact it's Forest. I think the fact that it's the 19th place team in the Premier League at home, you've got to be looking to beat them. But the fact that it's Atlock down the road and what happened last year, that enough should be enough motivation for these players to actually get up and play for this game.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the kind of game, well, again, looking at the table at the moment, Glenn, you've got obviously Nottingham Forest and Leicester, bottom of the table. But if they, again, I don't want to say if they get the win, but if they do get the win, looking at that, they'll jump up and that gap becomes 5 points. Wolves have just sacked their manager as well in Bruno Lage. So that it is looking, we are in a tight position down there at the moment. And so I'm not saying we're going to lose, but this is make or break in my opinion, because again, there's so many things compiling on this one match.
There is, and it's terrible for the fact that we're only going to be at the 8th game into the season, and that we're already talking about the fact of now. Nobody said it yet, but there are people talking about the fact of relegation battle, and it's horrible to have to think that way. But I mean, I want to look at it more for the fact that if we win this, then we go above Forest. Forest go bottom, and then we're only 2 points off Wolves and Palace there. And then with the games that we do have coming up over the next few weeks, then I'd like to think that we can try and pull ourselves out and scrape ourselves up the table a little bit. I mean, even West Ham this weekend, you see now they're sort of like clawed themselves up a little bit, and how they are now. And so, I mean, it can be done, and I think that we haven't had the easiest of fixtures to start off the first sort of like 7 games, but now we lead into these next sort of like 4 or 5, and these are what we would have certainly have looked at the beginning of the season as being winnable, and there's no reason why now that I think that we've got the squad and the first starting 11 to be able to do it. It's just whether the tactics are right and the guys are going to be up for it. I mean, like Ant says, why would you not be up for it for something like this? I mean, not only is it for the fact of that fighting at the bottom where you're playing 20th versus 19th, but it is those just up the road. So yeah, I mean, they've got to be. And you got people like KDH in the team who surely must be putting that across to everybody, and those that have seen what it's like when we played them in the cup and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I try and look at the positives that we could only be 2 points behind with favourable fixtures to come.
Yeah, I mean, this we'll probably go into a little bit later. The run is pretty favourable, and the games are stacking up a little bit more as well. So coming into this, but I think the most important thing, we need to get that win tomorrow, because on paper, I mean, Nottingham Forest have signed a lot of players, and I'd love to put an extra dent in that in terms of confidence for what we need to do. But it's not clicking for us. But this is a game where if there's any other game, this is the one we need to get right.
It does, and as much as I'd love to knock Forest and say how funny it would be for them to get relegated after signing half of Europe, like, for me, that's almost like irrelevant at this point. I think we've just purely got to focus on ourselves, because we're in as deep a hole, if not deeper, than what Forest are. If we get relegated, we are in as big a trouble financially as they are. So I don't want to talk about relegation. I feel like Glenn alluded to it. I feel it's a bit too early on in the season. But yes, I agree, and I agree with something else you said, but we haven't had the best of fixtures to start the season. But we have also played some games that you would look at on paper and think we should be taking points here. Brentford at home, that should have been a win, 2-0 up to then 2-2. Southampton, that's at home when you're leading that game. So it's not as if we've only played the top teams. Yes, we've played Spurs, Arsenal and United, but we've also had some winnable games that we've absolutely messed up. And this is something that I alluded to in my preview on my channel, was that the mentality is the biggest thing holding us back at the moment. Like, we score a goal, we will concede minutes later. We can't hold on to a lead, and then when we do go behind, we crumble. And we saw it against Spurs. We went 1 goal behind, then we went 2, then 3 very quickly. So, like, the ability is there within this squad, which is the most frustrating thing, particularly going forward. And we are still causing problems and scoring goals. It's just the mentality and the defensive structure at the back which has put us in the position that we're in.
Yeah, and it's something that we know Brendan likes to play attacking football, and it's something that has been lacking, and it's unfortunately getting worse. It looks like, even with a couple of players that are coming in, and again, there's something that, again, well, I'll jump in some of the comments because I know you guys. So thank you again. We've been off for a while. There's been toxic. I'm not gonna lie, we've made some toxic things here, so it's been nice to have a little bit of a break. Thanks, Renee, for the comment as well. All good. We're all good here. Just really hoping for a win tomorrow, because that would just put a little bit of a tick box, because we do need it at the moment. Ethan's here going home for the win. Anything losing for the sake of Rodgers and the fan. Yeah, there will be people on social media saying that. I think we just need the win, however it comes at this point. Again, I think we'll win tomorrow. Ramia says, get into the comments. Even to Fox Report, make sure you go and subscribe to him. Lovely, great, do some amazing work. Make sure you check out him on Fox Report on YouTube as well. But yes, apart from that, let's get straight into some of the comments that Brendan Rodgers was saying. So, in terms of facing Forest, Glenn, he says it's a great game for us. We really owe it to the supporters on Monday. It's a significant game for where we are, and it's also a local derby. So it seems like Brendan's saying the right things for the audience, but also to go, right, this is an important game for us. I would like him to be a little bit more passionate, but I think he's saying the right things in terms of the importance of this game, not in terms of where we are, but also in terms of the local rivalry.
Yeah, I think that listening to the press conference the other day, how somebody may have even had a word in his ear about how to say things and the type of things to say, whereas previously people have, and me included, have jumped on him for the fact of some of his comments about the club or about the fans and things like that. And he specifically was asked, I think Jordan Blackwell asked him about the fact of the fans getting excited for the games and that, and he made some comments there more for that fact where he had blamed the fans on previous games. He actually came out and said that it was their job to change the mood of the supporters, and basically said that it's up to them because it's the old chicken and the egg. Is it the players that gets the crowd going, or should it be the crowd getting the players going? And he said that it was their job to get the crowd going, and that he agreed that yes, we can help them, but it should be up to them to. There you go. It's like I planned it, but yeah, I mean, like I said, hopefully he can get the performance that lifts them and lifts the team and help us move forward. I mean, some of the other things that he was saying, I can't remember any specifics now, but I just think that there seems to be a change in his mood. He's never, like you said about the fact of you'd like him a bit more excited. He's not that excitable person, though, is he? He doesn't get enigmatic about things and that. And so I wasn't really surprised about that, but I just think some of his verbiage has changed and that he's trying to be a bit more uplifting about it and positive about some of the things that he's saying. And even with regards to Ward, as well, he had some. He was asked there about the fact of what about him, and he said that it had been challenging for the team, and that Ward had been making some really good saves, and that they need to be defending as a collective from front to back, and that they need to defend better. And I mean, just from his comments there, I think he'll pick Ward, and that I don't think there's a chance of him sticking Everson on. But he sort of half defended him and was blaming the collective as the factor for the poor defending. But he definitely sounded more upbeat, and probably as upbeat as Rodgers is ever going to get. He's not that jumping in his seat type sort of person.
Yeah, and I think especially with what you were saying with the mood around that, again, there's a few points I want to come back on, but I think, as you were saying, it seems like he's had a little bit of a change of disposition where maybe he's had a word with Top or something like that, because at the moment, he does seem to, and he is behaving slightly differently. If you look at, again, a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at the Man United game, we were looking at the Brighton game post-match, where he's basically saying, goodbye, Leicester, I'm expecting the sack. And he seems like he's changed his mind. And I think you mentioned it earlier on as well, in the international break, he goes, it's done, it's reset the mentality, and we're going to go again. So it's a positive, but I'm glad something's happened, because if he carried on this way of going, it was only really because we were lucky that the Aston Villa game was postponed, because that game would have been very, very toxic, in my opinion, at home, with what he said coming straight after that.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't really listen to massively a lot to what he says anymore, because he says one thing and then does something else. So I'll be honest, I haven't, like, most press conferences I listen to, but I haven't listened to this one because you just feel like with him, you could listen to the press conference from any game from the last year and a half and it would sound the same. So I'll be honest, I haven't even listened to it.
Fair enough, no problem. One thing, just to come back to Glenn, one thing that we've got, again, in terms of injuries, we have, hallelujah, a pretty much fully fit squad. It looks like that he says no players have come back from international injury. Wilfred Ndidi pulled up slightly early. We thought it was going to be a bigger injury. But when it comes to, and Dennis Pratt, looks like they will both be available for the game. We'll go into a little bit of formations, but I mean, out of both them, who do you expect to, if they are both fit, would you expect both of them to start, either of them to start? Who do you think?
I personally don't think either of them will start, to be honest. I put a team up just probably half an hour or so before coming on live with this.
I shall bring it up.
And on that, I'd actually got Mendy playing in the middle, and it wasn't for the fact of what I would prefer, is what I think Brendan would do. And I don't think I think that he's going to go a 4-3-3. And I think what he's going to do is try and shoehorn Maddison, KDH, and Barnes into the same team, and that's the only real way that you can get them all three in there. I'd probably prefer it. I think the way I look at it is, who's the best player that we've got at the minute? Maddison, and what's his best position? Is going to be behind the front man or the front men. And really at the minute that would be sticking him into a diamond, but then you're going to lose Barnes and that as well. I mean, I think a lot of it as well, me personally, I think it's just that some of the mistakes that we've been having is from the fullbacks being too high and getting caught out at the back. And I think if we can get more solid, I know it sounds easier said than done, I know, but if we can get more solid in the back, then we're going to score goals. And I think against this Forest defence as well, I think it will be easier to score goals. I know I'm going to shoot myself in the foot there, but there's no way it's going to be a 0-0. You know, there's goals in this one, that's for sure. We just got to make sure we outscore them. It
is, and it's going to be again. You've gone for a formation here, and you've just sent me that, so I'm going to bring yours up as well. But just in terms of this formation you see from Glenn, I think it's that's pretty spot on what I would go for as well. What are your thoughts?
For me, I would change Iverson for Ward, but Brendan Rodgers isn't going to do that. And the reason being, like a lot of people have said, it's Iverson deserves a chance, and to an extent, I agree. But the flip side of the coin is, I don't think Danny Ward has done enough to deserve to keep the shirt. I think if you're dropping howler after howler and you're still the number one, like, what's your motivation to play better? And then also with Iverson, if you're a young keeper who smashed it on loan last year at Preston North End and did your apprenticeship in the Championship, so to speak, he's not going to be short of options to move on. So I just feel like we're going to waste an opportunity there with a keeper. But anyway, we know that Iverson won't start. But I've gone with Samore over Mendy, but either or wouldn't surprise me with Mendy. So this is a 4-2-3-1. But then Maddison is that inverted right winger. So he'll drop in field, find those pockets of space. And then I've gone for a front two of Iheanacho and Vardy, with Iheanacho playing just off Vardy, because I think a front two is the system that we cause the most issues with. Iheanacho creates space for those around him, the likes of Barnes, the likes of Vardy, the likes of Maddison. He's also someone who can hold the ball up and be the link man. And I've got a little nickname for him that he's our 9.5, because he's not your typical number 9. He's not your typical number 10. He's your sort of in between.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if my internet's dying. I'm trying to fix it as we go, but no, I kind of agree. I think the only thing I have here, the fact that you've left KDH out of this, for me, is almost unforgivable. He's the guy. So we can, my only criticism is this: I kind of get what you're talking about. I say if it's not working, then change it up a little bit more. Potentially take Tielemans out and then put KDH in. But I think when you have that local derby, you need somebody that's going to lead from the front. And in my opinion, Barnes isn't quite that same player that is from the academy. He knows what it's about. And Vardy will give you that. But I think you need KDH in that midfield.
My only thing is, I agree to an extent, but if KDH's performance hadn't dropped off over the last 3 or 4 games, and that's come collectively as a team, but it happens with young players. They will go through spells where they're brilliant, like KDH was for a long time. But I think this is where Brendan Rodgers' man management needs to come in, where his form has dropped, to take him out from the team a little bit and let someone else come in. And Samore, by the way, I think he was very harshly treated to get dropped for that Spurs game for Ndidi, who was coming back from an injury. And then say what you want about Tielemans, about him not wanting to be here. He's still one of our only players that's performing to a half-decent level.
Fair enough. I think one thing as well, that I didn't manage to watch the game against Spurs, but how was, again, Walt Fass, Glenn? His first game, obviously 6 goals. He was a baptism of fire, obviously. But how was he? Because, again, I didn't manage to watch the game, and I heard that he actually put a pretty decent performance.
Yeah, for a defender who, was in a back line of that ship 6, he actually had a pretty good game, I thought. And I mean, you think about it, the poor guy had to sit there on the sidelines and saw 5 ship past the defence the game before, and then was in the team that had 6 hit against him. But I think he's of a similar. It's funny because I think he's of a similar ilk of Soyuncu, for the fact that I think he's probably got a mistake in him. I think he can get in and get some crunching tackles in there, and I think I don't think anybody's ever going to know, not in the near future, as to the issue with the fact of Soyuncu, unless Soyuncu leaves and he all of a sudden comes out with something. But I mean, Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how he gets on. I think he can. I mean, it's difficult to say with just one game, and after you've been smashed by 6 as well. But I think he was probably one of the better players on the pitch that day, which is really weird to say considering he was in that back line.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I heard he was kind of decent as well. But even ever since I looked at him, I thought, right, he's kind of a Soyuncu kind of player. And my thing is, and we've seen how Soyuncu has kind of fallen from literally, I think, Premier League team of the season he was there to literally not being able to get in the team. Now we're bringing in somebody on the opposite side. It's exactly the same. I just don't want the same fate to happen to him that is Soyuncu. Now Soyuncu has made mistakes. Don't get me wrong, and he has had stinkers recently. However, I just don't want the same thing to happen to another defender, and we repeating the same mistake.
The thing is, I don't think Soyuncu getting the teams down to Soyuncu. I think that's a Brendan Rodgers thing, and he can't swallow his pride with it. If I'm completely honest, like when you look at the clubs that are after Soyuncu, when Diego Simeone wants him in Spain, but he's not good enough for Brendan Rodgers. Like, I'm just going to leave it at that. But I think that something's gone on behind the scene, and Brendan Rodgers isn't a good enough manager to put his arm around him and get the best out of him, and he's isolating him because of it.
100%.
But with Wout Fez, something that's really, really interesting is you look that he's a natural leader on the pitch, and it's something that we've been screaming out for. So, like, I've got a really good feeling about him, and like what Glenn said, it's strange when you concede 6, but you look at a centre back and say you've had a decent game here, but he wasn't at fault for any of the goals, I don't think.
Interesting.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Even though we conceded 6, I remember going to bed because again, I think it was about 3 a.m. in the Philippines when I was because it was coming on. But I was like, I won't be able to stay up for this one, or midnight or something ridiculous kind of. So I went to bed. I was like, good day 3-1, and then if it was a bad day, it could be another Brighton, and it seemed like on paper another Brighton. Again, it's more than this meets the eye. In terms of that, I was going to do a squad builder, but I think you guys have already done there as well. In terms of that one, I mean, in terms of some of the comments of Brendan Rodgers, I mean, it is on for this match. I mean, is there anything else again in this match? Do we think Brendan changes it that much from the game against Tottenham, Glenn? Like in terms of formation and things, it's more of a mentality thing, as Ant was saying.
I think this is the thing: is that when I put the team up earlier on, there was other people coming in saying, "I think we should do this. I think you should do that," and blah blah blah, and all this sort of thing. Whereas previously, you could, not this season, but in previous seasons, there's a lot of times where you could pretty much pick the team, and you might be one person out because for whatever reason somebody's got a niggle or whatever it might be, but you could be pretty nailed on as to what the team's going to be. At the minute, because you don't know what formation he's going to pick, you don't know who's in, and the problem is with Brendan is who's in favour. As in, all of a sudden he just doesn't like a person. Samare, for argument's sake. I only think that the reason why I've got Mendy in that team that I put out was because I think I don't even know whether he's had a fallout with Samare. So I would prefer Samare in there, and I do like the double pivot like that Ant had in as well. But then, like you say, then you end up losing KDH. But but people just don't know. I joke about the fact when I put my team out, it's hashtag second guess Brendan, and it is. It's like, how can you? It's impossible, I think. But and nowadays, I think people are more closely looking at that for hour before the game when it's the team's released. Geez, who is it? Who's in? And then it's the guessing the fact of what the formation is going to be based on how it's written down and stuff like that. And that's not how we should be doing it, because then if we're all like that as well, you guarantee that throughout the week, sometimes the players must be like, shit, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? And we need that. We need solidity. We need that consistency. And we're completely lacking that at the minute, unfortunately.
We are. And it's something that is not new, unfortunately. We've had this for at least 6 months, honestly, in terms of defensive shape and things like that as well. And I'm hoping this is the game to change it. Of course, to jump back into the comments. Doug's here. Make sure you check out the Dugout Football channel. Great guy, friend of myself, and Ant as well. So make sure to take that out. Thailand went to Philippines, but again, jump in the DMs. We'll be able to talk about that as well. But no worries. Chester goes reckon we'll score 5, concede 8. That's pretty much we're turning it into a 5-a-side match at the moment, aren't we? So normally the 5-a-side kind of things. And Jog points says Rodgers has outlasted Bruno, Scott Parker, Tommy Tuchel. It is crazy, like the amount of managers that have been sacked in high positions, considering where we are. But again, that's probably another discussion we'll have post match for the Forest game, regardless of what happens. And then James comes in as well. I think, and we have to put Vardy has to start tomorrow. I'm pretty sure he's not. He's been starved of service. He's not looked great, to be perfectly honest with you, but he's been starved of service. He's a kind of player leading from the front that we kind of need to him to be on top form coming into this game, right?
I'm going to go against the grain here, and I know I am, but I don't think Vardy's been that starved of service, if I'm completely honest. When you look at the chances that he missed against Southampton, Chelsea, even against there's been other games, I think Brentford as well, he had chances. He's just not been as clinical as he has been in previous years. And also, he's not making the same runs, which is to be expected at the age he is, of 35. He's not making as many runs in behind. He's not causing as much issues off the ball, which is also always something that was very important to his game. But he would take a defender with him. Even if he weren't getting the ball, he would take a defender with him with that run in behind. He hasn't been doing that as much this year, which is why I think that you see Daka playing, teams step back 10 yards because they know that he's got that pace that Vardy used to have. I love Vardy, and I think every Leicester fan does. And I agree that he should play tomorrow because he is the ultimate big game player. But I don't agree with the fact he's been starved of service. I just don't think he's made enough happen for himself, if I'm completely honest.
Interesting, because I know somebody, I think Eighth point about Chelsea away. I mean, it's a great example of three probably should have had a hat trick in that. But what do you think, Glenn? Is it starved service, or do you think that you agree with Ant?
I think there's multiple factors with this. I mean, the service hasn't been fantastic. However, like Ant says, he's had the chances, and we've all seen that he's had the chances in a lot of the games. But I also think that maybe tactically as well, with some of the things, I think earlier on in the season, it looked as if he was asked to not do as much harrying and running around and chasing those lost causes that he used to always do. And then I noticed one of the games more recently, I've forgotten which one, that he was back at it again. And whether then it was like, had somebody had said to him that, as Rodgers said, right, we're going to change it up now, and then we want to be pressing more. And then he was pressing from the front and harrowing harrying at the keeper and this, that, and the other. So I don't know. It's difficult to say whether it's certainly, well, I think it's a mixture. I think that nobody wants to admit that he's coming towards the end of his career, of course, and one day that's going to happen. But it's not great to see. It would be easier maybe to say if we were playing a lot better and he was missing the chances in that, and then we could almost sort of like blame him directly. But I think it's multiple factors. But this is the game for him. If we need that talisman, that leader, and for anybody who's going to be up for it, it's definitely going to be Vardy. So hopefully he's going to improve on his current goal scoring record and smash one against Forest, or smash a performance against Forest. Yeah,
I'm really hoping so as well tomorrow. James put in the comments, a couple of other ones. Fox, Jeff's put in the comments. Kells and Daka for me is a part of duo. I think that's kind of what Ant was going for, but I know he put Vardy in ahead of Daka, but I know them two work quite well together. I'm trying to think of the game. We started against Brighton. I think them two work quite well together. And speaking of another player, as you were mentioning, that just can't get on the pitch, and I don't want to mention it again and again, but Kelechi Iheanacho is one of them. He comes on super sub for us. We've needed him so many times, and he just can't get a start. Obviously, he's got Daka and Vardy ahead of him, but he should have had. He's another one that for some reason Brendan doesn't fancy.
It's because he doesn't fit into Brendan Rodgers' system, and Brendan Rodgers is so adamant of playing the same system. And it's like, this is where the issue comes, and we've talked about this to death, so I'm only going to brush over it because I don't want to sound like a broken record. But this is where my frustration comes of, like, everyone says he hasn't been backed this summer. That's not, like, it's frustrating for him he hasn't had the transfers he wanted, and I think we can all understand that. My frustration comes, he's not getting the best out of the players that he's got available to him.
Correct, yeah.
So, like, when you've got a player like Iheanacho, who most games he will get you a goal or assist, he will have a positive impact on the game. Whilst he's sitting there, giving 5-10 minutes at the end of each game and expect to change it, it's very hard to have any sympathy for Rodgers.
It really is. It really is. And I think him, Pratt, Samori, as you're mentioning, and Daniel Amati. Well, Daniel Amati recently, I don't think he's deserved to start. Soyuncu is another one as well. Maybe Iverson in there, but again, that's a little bit more contentious. There's quite a few players in there that he just doesn't see, I think. Is there anything else, Glenn, that you want to mention? Because I think that's pretty much it. I'm just like, please don't lose tomorrow. It's just that's my main takeaway. Just give a fight. We can't have a repeat of the 4-1. Learn our lessons from that 4-1.
Yeah, I think it's the fact of what's he been up to on the training pitch recently. Has he been able to motivate the players? And I think, like answer that, I think that's part of the problem is that motivation, that being able to get the right or the best out of the players that we've got. Like I said, I think we've got a squad that can win games. We've got certainly a starting 11 that should be competing well up there with others. And for whatever reason, it's just not working. I mean, we've all seen. Even Castagna has not been up to par recently. Tielemans certainly is not at his best of what we've seen. KDH has dropped off over the last few games too, and it's there's only really Maddison that's been firing on all cylinders, and then he's been criticised because of the fact of coming too deep to collect the ball. And because I think he's been finding he's frustrated for the fact that nothing's happening, nobody's getting it up to him. So screw it, I'm going to come and get it myself. So he's ended up coming between the lines to collect the ball between the midfield and the defence, and he's been quite deep a lot of times. But I think we'll all be scrambling around there at an hour before kickoff and looking at what that team sheet is, and then trying to figure out what the formation is going to be, and then we'll be all up for it, and then. We don't want to score too early because, of course, then we just concede by the looks of it. So don't score first. What a stupid thing to say, but...
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? And scoring first, thinking, they'll get this back. And it's 1-1, you're thinking, that was coming. And then it just gets worse from then on out. You're thinking, it's almost as if we start the game 1... It's like we start the game -1. It goes to 0-0 almost, but you know that the next goal's coming.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's like, I mentioned it on my preview. It's like... After scoring, we concede straight away. We can't hold on to leads, and then when we are losing, we just capitulate. It's not really a good combination, though, is it?
It really isn't, and I'm just hoping for just tomorrow, just that it would get again. Jump into the comments. Great points as well. Ethan, again, for people that you don't know, again, thanks Ethan for the comments. But yeah, Toppy's going to be at the game tomorrow. I think one of his first games. I think he's there.
First game of the season, because he's been it's something to do with the horses and polo that he's been busy with for a while. So this will be his first Leicester game of the season, I believe.
Fair enough. I'm just hoping that this is going to. Well, first game was Brentford, no? So he was at that home game.
He might have been at Brentford, but I don't know if he's been at any since. But it's been a while either way. And
from where it was at Brentford to where it was at Spurs and Brighton, I think it's come down quite a bit. And I think one of the things as well, I don't even see this. Union FS are bringing a massive banner. I can imagine what it's going to say, Glenn. I don't know if you managed to see this on social media as well.
I've seen the fact that they're doing something. I have no idea what it is or anything, but I'd be looking forward to that for starters. And I don't know if they show it on the TV. I don't know how much. It depends on what it is, but what the coverage is like. But there'll certainly be pictures, I'm sure, all over social media. But Yeah, I look forward to that. And like, I'm always up for the game at the beginning, but at the kickoff, I'm there and I'm positive about stuff and everything like that. I just hope that they're going to keep that positivity going, and even if we just for the fact of having that that win over a local rival, as they wouldn't call us, of course, but because we mean nothing to them. So, but yeah, having that bragging rights in the East Midlands, because Derby aren't around, so. That's it. Yeah.
They're on around. We still went to them, didn't we, Ant? Giving them abuse.
That was a good little day out, that.
Yeah. Went with a load of friends, Glenn, that don't really like football. But I was like, it'll be a good day out. And I think they enjoyed themselves well, which is great fun. But yeah, I think, but then there's just one thing to end on as well. Remind us in the comments, Forest not had a difficult start to the season. They have played Man City, Spurs, or Newcastle, but they also have to Fulham and Bournemouth at home. They're leaking goals and they can't score. Win for us. I mean, I don't quite have the same level of optimism, but I'm with them in terms of that. In terms of they have, again, Man City got trashed, but they're trashing everybody at the moment. Spurs again, Newcastle, Fulham and Bournemouth. The fact that they've managed to get they managed to get 0 points out of them as well. I think I'm hoping for a win tomorrow, but it does look good in our favor in terms of statistic wise.
The thing is, you could make this game look however you wanted in terms of the form, but both teams have been absolutely dreadful heading into it. At the end of the day, on paper, and if football was played on paper, we would be about 8th in the league right now. But on paper,
we've got the first 5-10 minutes, or first half, then we'd be at least 10 points.
That's it. But at least on paper, we've got a much better team than them. We're at home, and we're a wounded animal. In reality, I can see us limping to a 1-0 win, which I would take.
Anyway,
I'd take a a 95th minute one bouncing off Iheanacho's arse into the dribbling into the bottom corner, no problem whatsoever. But I think if the team can keep the crowd, I think the crowd are going to be up for it. I'll guarantee the crowd are going to be up for it. And if the team can keep the crowd up for it, then I think we'll be fine. And because I think we can score goals. So and that's more of an issue that Forest have, is the fact of the lack of goals. We don't have that issue at all. So if we can try and keep them out and keep that crowd on the side, and I think we'll be fine. But this is my optimism 24 hours before sort of thing,
The thing is, I sounded like this at the start of the season, and each game I've just become slightly less optimistic each time we go. But the thing is, the level that we have fallen to this season, where the fact that 19th in the league at home, like, take away the fact of who it is, but 19th in the league at home seems like a huge game. It's just
wrong.
We have fallen off a cliff, haven't we?
It's wrong on all levels. Yeah. I know.
Speaking of wrong on all levels, I'm kidding. But Dora's here. Hey, hope you're doing well, mate. Big Nottingham Forest fan. Good to meet you at the BT Sports thing as well. Don't go hiding, Abe. Look, I hold the same energy. If are you going to the game, mate? Yeah, just message us and we'll try and sort something out if you are. Nice enough guy anyway. But yeah, we're both in the mess, aren't we? So I wouldn't say go hiding in the game when you're 3 points and 1 place ahead of us, with a whole new squad. So
come on, this is the prime years for the last 30 years for Forest. Let them enjoy it.
Yeah, it's the
big 1 year top flight tour.
It's the big day out, isn't it? This is their Wembley for them.
You know something that made me I was in Door's stream yesterday, bless him, and he was saying of how like yesterday was his first time going to Wembley. But I'm about half his age, and I've been to Wembley about 6 times with Leicester.
That is, I go yesterday. What happened yesterday?
What are you on about yesterday?
He said his first time. No, maybe I misheard.
No,
never mind.
In Door's stream yesterday, he was saying that his first time going to Wembley was a playoff.
The playoffs.
Final.
Right, okay. Yeah, but we've been there for the wrong reasons as well.
That is not the important bit. We've been to Wembley.
We went to Wembley. Yeah, last time we did win the FA Cup, so I think so.
Community Shield.
Yeah.
Can't forget that one.
Shield,
And Community Shield, yeah.
Yeah.
Good fun. But yeah, let us know, mate. We'll try and meet up with you as well. So looking forward to that. Glenn, any other thoughts before we finish? I think that's pretty much everything we covered.
No, not at all. Like I say, I'm looking forward to it, and let's hope that the post stream is going to be lots of us sort of giving it all of this sort of stuff, and yeah.
We need revenge for the 4-1, don't we, Anne?
Oh, without a doubt. There's so many reasons why we need this. Yeah.
That 4-1 has gone out of my mind. I'm not even going to talk about that anymore.
What 4-1?
Exactly, mate. What 4-1?
Yeah.
I think you might be imagining things, mate.
Yeah.
Just like they're imagining a win in a trophy in the 21st century. But
yeah,
sounds good. Brilliant. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. Again, like, subscribe. We'll try and go live after the match. If not, we're going to try and get something sorted. Again, we're getting in a regular schedule of getting things back again. Just on holiday. Make sure you go and follow Glenn. Again, his Twitter is down in the description. And has got a preview. Again, his link is in the description to his Twitter, but also to his channel as well. And we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.
Come on, Leicester.